podcast for the OWASP Top 10 for Large Language Model Applications. If you'd like to stay up to date with our project, please click subscribe. And if you enjoy the content or have any questions, please feel free to comment and share. Now, on to our meeting.
I was in Google Slides cloning the deck from last week, and it informed me that Gemini had a new image generator, so we had to create some new images. I actually kind of like it.
Yeah, very cool, especially this one.
I want to make a time-lapse progression of the robotic wasps I've been generating since the first announcement of the project. Because I went back and I looked at the first one from the first announcement of the project, and you could barely tell it's a wasp. It's just terrible. And they're getting quite good.
It's a good way to track the progress.
Yeah, it was mostly a blob, I think, is the best way to think about it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for joining. It's a busy time for the team. We've got some people here who I recognize from almost 2 years of these meetings, and some new people as well, I think. So welcome if you're a new joiner. Welcome to the team. So how many people do we have on here? It's not that many. Hey, if it's your first time on the meeting, you want to introduce yourself really quick? We've got a few minutes. Anybody want to go?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Fabian. I've been leading cybersecurity for several banks over here in Colombia and Latin America. Really an adept into AI and everything that generates from. So nice to meet you, everyone.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. This is Philip. I'm dialing in from Munich. I did the translation in German for the version 1.1, and I'm currently finishing up the version for the 2025.
Awesome.
Thanks, Philip. That's awesome.
Very welcome.
Anybody else want to go? All right. Well, let's dive in here. I think, Scott, you want to go over this?
Yeah. So as Steve mentioned, we're busy. The team is busy. We actually have a little bit of a backup in terms of the number of documents we have coming out. So we have 3 coming out over the next 3 weeks. I'm actually spaced some of these out to make sure that we have some airtime for people to actually consume these documents. So we have the data and security best practices that is we're trying to get that out to tomorrow. I'm just waiting. I think Emmanuel is checking on to make sure that we have all of our contributors correctly listed in the document. And once we have that, we'll get that published and send out the announcement on that. We have the Agentic threats and mitigations that is targeted to go out, probably publish on Friday, and then we're going to do social promotions on Monday. Everybody goes on enjoys their weekends, so I don't do a lot of promotion on Friday. So we'll promote it on Monday. And then the following week, we have another in our series from our threat intelligence group, which is going to be around LLM exploit generation. And so that will go out the following week. So more content coming your way.
Very cool. Wow, there's so many of these. Even I am not keeping up with some of them. Who's leading the LLM exploit generation team? Is that do I not recognize the name of that one, and I'm used to seeing it as something else?
Yeah, so that's the what do we call the threat intelligence initiative? So that's
okay.
Rachel.
Yep.
It's in the subhead there. So yeah, so it's
got it.
It's a Rachel. So I'm trying to we're making sure all of the initiatives are covered in their subheads, and then we know because we're producing multiple pieces of content per initiative.
Yep.
So
that's a great title for a document. That's going to be there's going to be a tremendous amount of interest in that.
Yeah, and it's a great, I've gone through it. It's a great starting point. They give some very specific examples. They've taken Juice Shop, and they use Juice Shop, which everybody at OWASP will know what Juice Shop is. And so they're using that as the basis, and they've run a set of tests against that and share the outcomes of that. So that's what's included in that, which is pretty cool. There's intent to go deeper, but this is their first set of results from that project.
Really nice.
And then I think John will talk about Agentic stuff a little bit later. And then we've got Emmanuel, who's been working on the data collection side. Our data security best practices really is looking at, from an LLM and Gen AI's perspective, what's a good framework for you to think about protecting data? Because as we all know, data is sort of is an even more central part of securing LLM systems than is any of our other traditional areas as well. So having guidance around that, this first version will be great.
Very cool. Scott, just an idea looking at these. It got to be very trendy for a while and people aren't doing it quite as much, but it might be really cool. Take each of these when we're doing the social announcements, run them through Notebook LM and come up with some podcasts for each of them. I suspect it's as simple as putting the document through it and generating one of those, and those are really cool.
That's a great idea. I've asked a couple of the folks to kind of do a 3-minute kind of intro on each one of these documents. I want to start doing that as a regular approach, but if people don't have time, that could be a great way to kind of fill the gap and help people have that quick snapshot. So yeah, I'll take a look at that. Yep. If for those who aren't doing their recordings, we can do that as a filler.
Yeah. Or even if they do, you could just space it out and have another asset that goes out. And, these tend to be 10 to 15 minutes in length, and coming at it from almost a third party perspective. It's almost like two co-hosts who read the document talking about it, which can be fun.
Yep, that's great. And which just reminded me, I forgot to drop one slide in our deck, which is our learning, our collection of learning assets. So we are going to be launching a learning portal that'll have both community assets and it'll have training. We've now ability to do testing, and we're working with the OWASP team to look at certifications so that we can do OWASP certifications and ISAC certifications around different topic areas. So that's something that, number one, I'm looking for content. So if you're in the community and you're talking about the project, shoot me a note. There's actually a link that you can fill out a form that tells us about that particular asset, and we can include it in our community resources on the learning page. So, or if you're speaking at an event, we can do that as well. So sorry about that. Forgot to add that slide in there, but I wanted to promo that so that we can make sure we're continuing to create content. I want to roll that out about mid-March at this point, or whenever we get enough content that I feel like it looks good, and then we'll start from there.
Cool. This is still you, Scott.
Yep. So as you all know, we are on this path to the foundation has been so kind as to recommend us for flagship status for the project. As part of that transition to flagship status, there was also a desire to make sure that we're actually, with the work that we've been doing, that's much more than our initial cornerstone research, which was the top 10 for LLM. We've been asked to kind of broaden the naming of the project to make sure that we can be inclusive and not necessarily disrupt other top 10s. So we can include other top 10s potentially within the project. So as a result, we're taking the genai.owasp.org and we're moving that to the Gen AI Security Project. So we're making this transition in the branding. We've gone through a number of different scenarios, as I showed down below, in terms of how we want to talk about this. The team kind of felt like, we're already starting with the genai.owasp.org domain. So building on that seemed like a natural place for us to do that. So starting next week, we're going to start through the brand transition. It's going to take us some time because we obviously have a lot of assets that we have generated. But our goal is to get everything in transitions when we're at a stage for the announcement of the flagship status. There's other things that we're doing to help tune the project for that, around governance and around our GitHub structure and things like that. And all those will kind of come as we get closer to the launch of the or announcement of the flagship status.
What's your thinking on timing for announcing that, Scott?
I have a slide on that.
No.
Oh, it's still me. Oh.
Yep.
Um,
Going.
okay, so RSA. So we are making progress on we now have our summit that is going to be scheduled for the 30th. We have our title, which is really building on the safeguarding of Gen AI, agentic apps, and the top 10 risks for 2025. Those are key topics that we'll cover in that. We do have our discount code. So if you are an OWASP member, you can get $150 off. We'll have a series of communications that go out. As you can see from the room, based on last year's standing room only participation, we ended up getting a larger room. So would love to have everybody kind of join us. We've got a larger space to work with. And so it will be on Moscone South in the usual place, which will be on I believe it's the 3rd level where the bridge comes across, if you're familiar with Moscone Center. It will be just down from the bridge where we'll have our conference. And this will be for a half-day summit.
So I see you got a discount code at the bottom,
Yes.
which I think people will like. Last year, I seem to recall we had a way where people could get at least the exhibitor pass or the exhibition pass and could still get into this. How's this going to work this year?
Thanks for reminding me for not putting that on the slide. So all pass levels are accepted. So from exhibitor on up. So anybody can attend. All you need is an RSA pass of some sort, and you're good to go.
Okay.
So with the discount on with the discount code, that's obviously up to $150 for the full passes, but it does impact the expo passes as well. So you'll be able to get even a lower price on that. So
Cool.
but
Yeah,
everybody is welcome.
Cool. Yeah, let's figure out when we roll this out how to make sure people know this is actually a great way for them to get to taste sample RSA even without sort of biting off the whole apple.
Yeah, and in fact, we have a whole series of communications that we're committed to along with RSA to kind of do this. We will have a blog coming up jointly with RSA. We have 4 emails that need to go out. We have social postings that are jointly being promoted, and we have a roadmap for that as well. So we'll be getting the message out, and that stuff is going to start next week as well. Just real quickly, I am working on finalizing working through the agenda. There'll be more on this next week. I just wanted to share this so that people got an idea of the type of topics that we kind of covered last year and we're looking at this year. I think they're certainly looking at the top 10, the discussion around agentic security. We have new resources in our threat intelligence group, and I'd like to be able to have an opportunity for people to share those and get questions and answers around those. We want to look at doing some kind of several panels here as well. And lastly, I may be compressing some of this time to maximize our content, because this year we have more content than we have ever had. And so we want to find the slots to get that in there, and both to have representation from the different initiatives and have good meaty discussions. So that's a outline for folks just to kind of sample kind of where we're going. And then we'll have more about the final agenda. We'll get finalized closer to the end of March with the final speakers and all that sort of thing. That's sort of our timeline. But I want to give you a peek into where we're headed there.
Fantastic. Just pause here because there's a lot on this slide. Folks here, comments on the agenda for the day or suggestions for other things that we might want to do? I mostly see nodding, which is a good sign, but
yeah, if you have ideas, things that we can try to squeeze in here. I know we have a number of initiatives, we got content. If there's things that from an attendee you would like to see that we can tailor the content to kind of help, that feedback would be great too.
I think
Go ahead. Sorry.
I really love what you have there. I wonder whether this will be also an opportunity with it will be my first RSA conference there, and there will be so many people from different geographies. I always felt, kind of I'm on my own, apart from Andy in London, whether that would be an opportunity actually to connect people and create new type of connections within our project that maybe we get together in a social or something like that.
Yeah, there is plans to do a social event, so a networking event. I just don't have
Excellent.
details on that yet,
Fantastic.
because of the trying to locate a location and that sort of thing. So
And I knew you would have thought of that. I just thought I'll mention it.
Yeah.
Especially if someone
no,
from
it's a
the
great thing. It's a great thing to bring up. And, there's a couple things we might do. There's, we're trying to just find there's never a great night to do a networking event at RSA's, because if you're at RSA, there's always something going on, right? So we have to kind of find a time that could work for folks. And we have some ideas that came out and some suggestions. So I'm going through those to try to find some times. Always open for other ideas since we're in the ideation phase. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
But
Scott,
there'll be more on that coming up probably next call.
cool. One suggestion on the agenda is let's make sure that we do a kickoff to this that doesn't immediately sort of dive into the top 10. Let's make sure that we get something to kind of kick it off, set up the day, do a little thought leadership around the project in general, and then get into the topics. So, doesn't have to be its own 45-minute slot, but we probably want to put something up front for that.
Yeah, we did a framing for that last time, and I think we need to do a little bit more of that this time, to your point.
Yep.
And so that I just don't have in here because that will just squeeze in on top. That'll be like a 5 to 10 minute kind of positioning thing, maybe 15 tops.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I think I want to see if we can get compress some of these times, get closer to like 35-minute slots, because I think we're going to end up with a lot of we know we have a lot of content and we'll have a lot of interest. So I want to make sure that we have slots so we can get as much communicated as possible, but also not make sure they're long enough that there's good, engagement, especially around the panels and things like that.
Yeah, I remember the red team panel from last year got a ton of hits on YouTube afterwards and everything. That was a really good piece of the event and a good asset afterwards as well. So I'm sure both of these will be popular.
Yeah, and we have heard from many people that, not everybody's going to make it to RSA. So we are going to do a virtual event. Right now, I'm in conversations with Cyber Risk Alliance, who wants to co-host it with us. And so we may be doing more on that in the next couple of weeks. The goal is to do that after RSA and probably between RSA and Black Hat timeframe. And there'll be opportunities for both our own sponsors to be part of that, as well as other companies to be part of that. So that'll be more details coming up on that. But we did hear, for those who say, well, I can't make it to RSA, we have a plan for that. One, we're going to have the summit. We're going to publish the materials from here, the recordings. We'll record the day and publish the sessions on our YouTube. And lastly, and secondly, we'll have a virtual summit where we'll pull all this together and some more content, because I guarantee you between now and then, we're going to have more stuff. And not all of it will fit here. So that will give us more time to kind of do breakouts and go more in depth. And so that'll be coming up as well. All right. This is, I think, my last slide. No, it's not. I know there's one more after this one. Did I miss a slide here? Okay. So there should be, is there another solution, not solutions, but another,
Just reload here, make sure that we got the latest version. Okay.
Maybe it didn't cut, maybe I created the slide and didn't cut and paste it in. Yep, I did. So that was the one you were asking for, which was the announcement. So I'll talk to the slide that I have here. Sorry, I didn't cut and paste it in there. So the target right now we have, actually, let me grab the slide real quickly. Sorry for the delay.
Here, you want to share?
I got to find this. I don't have the slide open right now, so I have to go grab it. I already closed that off. I'll talk about solutions then while I do this. So this is a heads up. We are getting ready to do the solutions landscape for Q2. So as you know, we do the solutions landscape every quarter, largely because the expectation is things are changing. This is a rapidly changing area. So we're continuing to update or get updates. In fact, we've had at least, I recall putting in 35 new solutions that have been proposed through the form over the last month and a half, just to give you an idea. So I expect that's going to continue. And so we're going to do a couple of things for that. We're going to go ahead and start to do a call out for organizations to be able to add to it. We're going to expand a couple of things. One, we already have the top 10. We're going to make it clear which is the top 10 for 2024 and 2025. So people can search on that. So we're going to improve some of the search capabilities on the online directory. We're going to add use case on there so you can search by use case for red teaming and then for agentic security. So we can look at it and other use cases as we come down the path to make it easier to find. And so there'll be an update email and form that'll go out to all the solution providers we have registered, and there'll be a notification that goes out on our social media. We're targeting publication around the end of the month. So the idea is to publish the following quarter's outlook by the end of the previous quarter. So we're publishing Q2 at the end of Q1. We'll publish Q3 at the end of Q2. That gives us the ability to also do some outlooks and gain some of the insights as we've seen as what's changing. And so there'll be an editorial piece that goes along with it that talks about not just the updates we do to the solutions guide and the directory, but also what's changed. And so that what's changed will be part of the content that goes out there. We'll also do an update to the cheat sheets, which have become very popular. And I think it might be interesting to create a cheat sheet for slice for red teaming or one for agentic security. I'd be open to feedback and thoughts on that. If we want to have a different slice on that, we could do that as well. So I want to let people know that's coming. So if you are a solution provider, you're not in the directory yet, go ahead and plug yourself in. And if you know of solutions, because you don't have to be a vendor, you can be an individual who says, this is something I'm using every day, and I think it's value, and I don't see it listed in the AI security landscape directory. Go ahead and there's a link there. You can go ahead and add that as an individual. So you don't have to be a vendor. And yeah, so that's what we have coming up from the solutions. Any questions? No? Okay. And then the last one will be, which is the slide that you don't have.
Do you want to, did you find it?
I found it. Let me go throw it in the deck here real quickly. I think I have that.
Or you can just share if you want from yours.
Okay. That means I have to clean up my desktop. What are you making me do?
It's put it in the deck then if you want. I'll push reload.
No, I'm good. I can share. All right. So let me go ahead and share that one over here.
We need to put Rachel's camera a little lower, so we can see her face, not just the top of her beautiful red hair.
All right. So quick switch over to the slide. I hope you can see the slide.
Yep.
Great. So we're looking at our Q1 PR announcement. So we try to do PR announcements every quarter. Last year, we did a couple in a row, which were great. We were just getting rolling with a lot of stuff. But now we have a lot of things going. So we're trying to maximize sort of the impact every quarter. That doesn't keep us from releasing things. So we're going to looking at the 4th of March to target a couple of key things, both the announcement of the advancement of the project to flagship status, and we'll have quotes from the board, quotes from the foundation as part of that. We'll talk about the project history and renaming and future. We'll roll up our different publications. We have right now 5 new sponsors. We hope to have more by then. So if your company is considering sponsoring the project, this is a good time because you'll get rolled into this announcement. And if you have any questions around that, you can go to the sponsorship section on the website, go to the sponsorship channel, ask questions, or just reach out to me directly. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the RSA Summit. So those are the four things that we currently have on the docket to talk about as part of that March PR announcement.
All right, you want to keep driving, Scott, or you want to switch it back?
I'll switch it back.
Okay. All right, John.
So I want to talk a little bit about standards alignment. When we started this, and even last year when Sandy and I and Scott and others were on calls non-stop with others, we thought of how do we map our work with the work that others are doing. And I think we have gone way past that. And I think what I'm finding, what's emerging is because of the work that we're doing and because of the strategy that we have of not just having the headline items are good to set the agenda, but having so many documents, it creates really an integrated view of AI security. What I'm finding is that we are becoming that foundation alongside other people, the foundation of how other standards and more practical and concrete guidelines emerge. And one of them was I was asked by the UK government to help them author the implementation guide of the new security code of practice. And it was interesting, and it's for the first time that code of practice goes through the life cycle rather than having this, thou shalt do this and that. And as I was going through that, it was amazing to see how all of our documents are being actually referenced. And what I might do is I might create a diagram of how each of all those documents fit into that life cycle. So it was a great experience and fantastic to see. We reviewed this several times with many other people and organizers. The two things that come out on the quality of work that we do, the power of collaboration, obviously, the fact that it synthesizes rather than just publicizing someone's opinion, and the fact that although we focus on the practical, we're not afraid to say, well, we are going to find this balancing act of what's coming, and maybe some of that will sound a little bit way out, but it is coming. We can see it and how it maps with what the developers are doing. So that was really, really positive experience. I'm really proud. Although the work was through my employer, I want to highlight my membership of this project because it really was so reaffirming to see all of the work that we do fitting in and being referenced there. It's being submitted to this month for RSA standardization, so all of our kind of references will appear there too. And so that's again, that's the message that we've gone way beyond just mapping things. We're creating this coalition of people that enables developers. And as part of that, I'm doing a seminar at the National Cybersecurity Center workshop on AI, which is actually quite a week of red teaming. And I'll come back and give feedback to everyone who's working on the red teaming here on agentic security. And I thought, we'll experiment a little bit on aligning, not just at the end, at the output, but also when we formulate documents. So we created this distinguished expert review board where we invited quite a few people to join and review our work as we start and give us input. And that created kind of a nice different feedback loop. So overall, really, really pleased of how this project is setting the agenda. And I think Sandy and Steve, you said on the channel, it's amazing how much impact we have out there. And I'll pause there and say, well done, all of you. Really, really great to have all that documentation to enable people. Any questions or comments before I move on to my agentic AI?
No, John, I wanted to say though that I went through a lot of the UK documents in the last couple of days and oh my gosh, you are amazing. Thank you so much for all the work you do. It's fabulous.
Thank you.
And it is really exciting to see the influence.
Connecting everyone's work, that's what I do. But yes, thank you. I was really good experience.
Yeah, it was
But
really,
it's
really
consistent.
great.
It's readable. It's usable. The word I like to use is consumable.
Exactly.
I can use this. I can go out and actually take that into my work and use it. So great job. I think I'm going to RSA, so I will get your autograph when I'm there.
We'll get a nice photograph. Stop that. I can feel we make me blush. But really, really, really good stuff there. Thank you.
Yes, and that's a great job. And the other piece I'd say is that, to your point, the recognition's coming in. I'm getting outreach from other standards groups to work with us. So it's not, we've been working obviously very actively. You have, and others have been working very actively with the different standards groups, but now we're also getting others coming to us. So Oasis is one who's come to us. That's the COSI project. And I'm working with the board there, and they want to do both joint work with us promotion. They also want to take on some projects and create some of their standards based on it. So it's just the work that the team has done to generate the quality of content is really being recognized. So I just wanted to amplify what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. I think, I will do this diagram of the life cycle and the documentation we have, and maybe we'll spot some gaps.
That would be awesome. I would
Yeah.
love if we could do that. We can put that out on a social media post. That'll really grab folks and bring them to the content. Yeah.
Let's talk about the other exciting stuff then that has kept us busy.
Let's do that.
So I don't know why I put all those kind of early slides. So we talked about the agentic security last time. Fantastic participation. I think it's really hard to get things completed because everything is so new and so incomplete. So the decision we have made is go, and the advice that we got from all of you really was, Steve and Scott and Sandy and everyone, is go as early as possible. And I completely agree. Some of the feedback, when I do some feedback sessions, and we did feedback support sessions and threat modeling workshops practically 4 a week, is the range of feedbacks that you get. Some people say, oh my goodness, that's too high level. Some other people say, oh, this is too specific. Or, so, we need to go out and knowing that we'll never please everyone and understand what people have to say. A lot of good work there. I want to call out a few people that are on the call. Jason, Ross, Rock Lambrus, I think you helped too. Ken, of course, Ken contributed a massive amount of work there. I want to recognize that. And so we asked people to do the review with surveys, with inline comments. We also had that distinguished expert review that actually gave us quite good, I was going through that, quite a good feedback there. And so we've created the updated draft. We're consolidating. We passed a copy to Scott. So it's our Valentine's. I don't know why we're so cheesy. We decided to go for that. It's a kind of a love gift to the AI security people. And that's the first step. This is what I had time and time again tell people who said, oh, it's not deep enough or it's not complete. This is our first step. This is, something emerging. We're going out to the world and say, this is what we think agentic security looks like, and this is what we think the threats and the mitigations are. Let's have the conversation. So if you go to the next slide, Scott, and this is kind of starting that feedback and debate. We want to be concrete. So when people say, well, give us an example of that in the industry. Well, I don't really have all the examples in the industry, but we're building some vulnerable apps to demonstrate that in action using the 3 popular frameworks, LangChain, AutoGen, and Creo AI. There is another document where we want to talk about secure agentic architecture and mitigations. We have the mitigations there. How do you use them as a developer? How do you use them as a decision maker? And most likely, we will get so much discussion and heated debate around that, we will almost have to go and do an update for 1.1. There is great work that, as I said, Ken has published, some other groups have published. We want to align and consolidate and absorb as much as possible, whilst, of course, crediting. And then at the end, and that's actually quite vague, the security landscape, which will most likely, having talked to Scott, will become part of the overall landscape. But there are some other aspects there that we need to discuss, the threat modeling for, some of the other things that quite agentic. So it's something that we want to deliver. Whether it will be a document on its own, we don't know yet, but that's what the journey looks like. So read the document, be part of the discussion. We have now a form, I think we'll move to a repository actually, Scott, where people can suggest more threats and more feedback. And that's what it looks like. And I'll pause there.
John, I think this is really the right approach. I think we saw that with the red teaming guide as well, that the initial scope for it was much larger than the first document was, but the first document was still really comprehensive and got great reviews. I think this topic around agents, we haven't seen something this hot in terms of buzzwords since LLMs originally. So I think the timing is right. Get this out. get it into the consciousness before people are badly burning themselves with agentic security disasters. And then we could just keep this rolling. But it's exciting.
Great. And
Makes no sense to me. I use LLMs. I use tons of them every day, and they fail constantly for me.
Yeah.
I don't trust them. They give me terrible answers, and I can't believe anyone would ever just hand it off trust. But again, I don't understand lots of things. I don't understand really short shorts. So
So to play devil's advocate there, not on short shorts, but on agents. I agree with you, Sandy, if you're just interacting like directly with LLMs, but when you implement them in a RAG situation and their responses become much more predictable, you've really given them sort of decision trees that, that's where I think it makes more sense, and where we end up applying agents, right? Like, because RAG makes the responses far more consistent, and so that at least where I'm at, the only places we have implemented agents are in a RAG model.
And I think Rachel, I think I'm with you. It's all about the context. And I think what I'm seeing in commercial implementations that we feed, I just tested one actually from a local council, is out of the box, the LLM. I find it quite useful actually, LLMs, Sandy. I think I'll disagree with you a little bit there, but they can give you that, specialist deep knowledge. I mean, you start adding context, and RAG was the first thing that we discovered that, we can give context. With agents, you start having memory, you start having all kind of other things. And so that usefulness starts emerging. I think, yes, people will burn their fingers. Unfortunately, you cannot create an omelette without breaking eggs. And I think all we can do is just advise people what to worry about and what to watch. But there is 100%, it's the context. Sorry, Scott.
Yeah, no, I'm just agreeing. Yeah, so that context, RAG gives you context. Agents gives you interaction, which is a whole nother type of challenge, right? So,
well, and I think the other thing RAG does is move it to a place of being far more consistent. Like LLMs, just out of the box, are designed to have a bit of randomness inserted in them, but like intentionally. And certainly like the way you prompt it has a huge impact, right, on the responses that you get. But when you move more towards RAG and you start really telling it sort of how to interpret different prompts, is sort of the same question, you get a level of consistency that performance-wise makes us more comfortable than automating what's happening on the other end, right? Because that's kind of like a cybersecurity principle. I know, Sandy, you and
it gets really narrow though. Yeah. And we do it here too. I didn't mean to take us off topic. Like we do it too, but I guess I'm saying, let's take it. We can talk about it over coffee with everyone at RSA.
I think
everybody
I think that's a day that I'll see you all there. And But that's what we are.
And I think the incremental approach here really helps because as we're talking about, RAG was kind of newish last year, right? We got more nowadays we have much more implementations around RAG architectures, and then agentic architectures are now coming up. We have initial deployments. So taking an incremental approach as things are changing so rapidly, I think is going to make things, to Sandy, to your point, our goal to make things tangible, usable, practical kind of content people can do things with, helps us to better tune that as we kind of track the evolution of the agentic architectures and implementation risks.
Great, and that's where we are with the agentic stuff.
Can you, I'm going to make one more ask, which is to update the roadmap for me. If you need help with that, let me know and I'll send you the link. So we have our public.
We improvise on those slides, Scott, and then we'll catch up with you and update your roadmap. So for sure I will do that.
I know. I just dropping the reminder in, that's all.
And that's a good reminder.
Okay. I don't know. Do we have Krishna here today? Is anybody able to
He
talk?
isn't.
No.
Yes, he asked either Scott or I. So, the team is really happy with the feedback that they've received on the initial release of the red teaming document. I have committed to actually operationalizing the checklist, and so Christian let me take over his day and time, so I said I would get that started in March. But we're hoping to use, as you can see from this slide, what we're trying to do is complement the two actions. So the checklist informs the red teaming informs the checklist, so we keep building this dynamic process so that people understand what they should be looking for and also what they should be testing for.
Yep. And I have had a conversation. So I did have a conversation earlier this week with CSA, which is the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore.
Oh.
And they are so just so we don't get, there's a lot of acronyms running around. So just so we're clear. So that's the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, who started to put together their own testing guide around the original top 10 list with a very detailed kind of do this, do that guidance, which is great. And SNAC has also contributed their guidance that they use for testing with their clients. And together, we're going to bring that together to go ahead and create a more practical testing guide for the top, more practical testing guide for the top 10, which will help build on the red teaming kind of focus. So I did have the calls with CSA, and we'll be starting the meetings, I think, next week with them and with SNAC again to start kicking off the creation of the documents that they currently have and take them.
So how does that work, Scott? So the CSA have a document that they created.
Yes.
And they're out using it, and Sync, who is a sponsor but is a vendor, comes in and says, this is what we're actually using in our environment. Okay.
Yeah. So they're
and
both.
Then do we add to it? Like, what is the OWASP piece? Are we just plagiarizing what they've already created and stick your name on it? Like, how does it work?
No. What we have is we have a group. So these just like you have any contributions that are coming in from anybody, they are contributing their content that they have, which is maybe not complete or is maybe not detailed enough that we would like to produce. And then so CSA, SNAC will have a working group, just like we did with the red teaming guide, which was originally an aggregation of a bunch of different content and goals around it. And we'll produce one that is mapped to the 2025 top 10 list, as opposed to some of them were mapped to 2010, some are mapped to 2010, 2024, some are 2025. So we'll have a community-based one that both organizations and other organizations can take forward as a basis.
Okay, I can take it offline. And like, it seems like that should be part of the red teaming guide. Like, we're getting so much stuff out there. It's like Scott said, like we're to the point.
That's why it's part of the red teaming initiative, because it's something that is we've talked about it in terms of levels of detail. And so that's why if we continue to have one giant guide, it's not necessarily going to be as consumable as having task-oriented documents around it. So just as the goal for red teaming is also, Krishna wants to do some drill down use cases. So even more specific use case oriented red teaming examples that are coming later in the roadmap. Those are, another way to kind of continue to build things that are actionable.
Scott, are you still kind of reviewing and getting feedback? I'm thinking the seminar that I said the first week of March, that's actually what they do is they have a whole week of red teaming, and I would like to take our guide and go, try and use it in that and bring back as much feedback as I can and see what it looks like.
Yeah, so I mean, there's two pieces to this. There's the red teaming guide, which is a little bit higher level. There's the testing guide, which is what's being developed, which is specifically against the top 10, right? So it's specifically designed to go against the top 10, as opposed to perhaps broader topics. and provide some actionable steps for someone hands-on red teaming. So they're giving code examples. For example, the CSA has provided code examples of how to do it, and then how to respond. So what the expected responses are, which is nice. It's the next level of detail.
And presumably, some of the work Ron is doing on the agentic stuff with a whole catalog of vulnerable agents will find a way to connect it to this and reference it.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the hope that and one of the things that I think it's hard now that we have enough content, different sets of guidance out there, cross-referencing our own stuff as well as being able to, reference other people's third-party stuff, I think is an important in helping to kind of connect the dots as we're trying to, as an organization, provide more depth. So the closer things are kind of tied together, the better kind of raises all boats.
Okay, I have some questions, but I'll take it back to Christian, maybe and Jason, and you guys know me. Sometimes you have to explain it a couple different ways before I totally understand it. So, thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. I guess we're about 10 minutes away. I know there's some other slides to get to.
See what else we got. Rachel, is this you?
I put those in there.
Or Brian. Okay.
Or Brian. Rachel or Brian, one of the two, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say if Brian wants to speak to it, I'll let him do it.
Yeah, so just a quick update. We a few weeks ago held a kickoff for 2025 deliverables, and I have a calendar on the next slide just to kind of give everyone an overview of that. Okay, let me just do it now. Okay, so we have 4 planned for this year. First of all is Exploit Generation Initiative Phase 1 study paper, which Scott mentioned before. Next is the basically AI incident response guide. Following that is going to be the Phase 2 deliverable for exploit generation, where we're going to be looking for, kind of a larger bank of volunteers in order to test capabilities across different types of models. And then finally, we're going to do a revision to the deepfake guide to be released in November. If you don't mind going back to the previous slide. So I do also want to flag that we kind of met as a layer and decided to hold regular meetings on Thursdays 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time, the opposite week from the main meeting. So the next meeting for the layer will be next week. Information on how to join and a calendar link are available in the Slack channel. And so, for people on the call, if you'd like to participate, we're currently soliciting volunteers for the AI incident response guide. So if you want to work on that, pop into the channel, ask around, or come to the meeting next week. And then finally, I realize that link in there is not useful to everyone here, but it is pinned in the team Slack, or the channel Slack, which is that we created a planning document which has meeting information, links out to kind of other deliverable stuff, etc. Thanks to Sandy for that suggestion previously. But we just kind of put everything in there. So if you want to kind of get up to date and get involved with the efforts for AI CTI, you can just go there. One-stop shop for that. And like I said, it is pinned in the Slack channel. So I don't have anything else unless you do, Rachel.
No. I think that's a good overview. I think, I will just say that we've gotten a few new folks that have decided to join us that I'm really excited about being involved in this project. So, we had a little bit of a hiccup with the timing over the holidays, but I think it actually worked out for the best because we've got some fresh blood in there with some really good experience that I'm very excited to see their contributions.
Do we want to, it would be great if we could also, I think maybe, Brian, maybe you and I can connect to make sure we have this on the website, number one, under the CTI initiative, so that we can add that to it. Secondly, we can update the roadmap. And then third, for your outreach, I might suggest we do a social media post. If you're looking for volunteers, we can put that out and then others can amplify that. So Steve could then pick that up. Others could then pick that up to amplify it out to their network. So a couple suggestions there, I think might help kind of just connect the dots a little bit further.
Yeah, we're thinking of building in that kind of volunteer call with the release of the phase 1 study paper, right? So so definitely. Yeah, no, and all that sounds good. Thanks, Scott.
Yep.
And that's it for the slides. We do have a few minutes left. So does anybody have any open topics they want to raise with the team? Once, twice, 3 times. Hey, I will say it. I am continually amazed by the work this group is doing. In the last 18 months, having gone from a rough idea that somebody might care about the security of these new class of AI systems to putting out not just one really well-respected document, but basically everything this group puts out catches fire. You know, I don't think we've quite added it up, but between just some of the postings on the red teaming guide, the one from the group's LinkedIn account, which has finally caught fire and is getting more and more followers. The one I put out, you know, probably 100,000 views on those LinkedIn posts. It's just amazing, right? So it's not just the core top 10 list anymore. It's any piece of guidance that this group puts out. The world wants to hear about it. People are super supportive about it. I think Scott mentioned it briefly, but it's worth really reiterating that the support within OWASP, I think at the beginning, they didn't quite know what to think of us or what to do with us. And they were happy to give us a GitHub repo and get out of the way. But at this point, elevating the project to flagship status and really working with Scott on how do we use this model to have more and more impact, and bringing in sponsors and having events and all of this is amazing. And this is all a reflection on everybody who's contributed to this. And look, at this point, we've got hundreds and hundreds of people that have contributed one way or another, but we have this core group of really committed people who've been on this now for months or a year plus, depending on who you are. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, and let's keep doing this. It's having a big impact out in the industry. So I will look forward to seeing you all again soon, and I will look forward to all the big announcements coming.
Yep.
Thanks, Dave and Scott.
Yep.
Great work too.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out our bi-weekly meeting podcast. If you'd like to stay up to date on all of the latest news for the OWASP Top 10 for large language model applications, please click subscribe. And of course, we'd appreciate it if you'd share with a friend to grow our community. We'll see you in 2 weeks.